Economic sufficiency is a myth. It is to be understood that the Indian government and the Indian Constitution has in its preamble an idea of economic justice. Actually, the concept of economic justice has lost its very significance in practice for the last 70 years. Particularly among the educated youth, most of the people are opting in the name of the economic security some professions. As a result, they are totally banking on the industrialists and other commercial organizations. This is resulting in a grave social phenomena which is called as loss of economic sufficiency and also economic independence. The Second World War has given more prominence to the macroeconomic identities. It has totally ignored the microeconomic identities which were very much prevalent in the 18th, 19th and early 20th century. After the depression in the interwar period, with the theories like the general theory of employment, we have understood very clearly that the concept of macroeconomics had challenged the very existence of the microeconomics. In the same way, the highest state of economic imperialism and the colonial imperialism has challenged the very concept of the markets in the microeconomic level. The definitions for the wealth, the definitions for the industries, the definitions for the growth, and the definitions for the development have undergone a grave change in the past 70 years from 1950. At present, if we examine the perspective of the individual youth of an educated elite, about 95% of the youth are only pawning their lives in the hands of the industrialists. They are opting a so-called mirage of the economic security, income security, and also a so-called standard of living, and totally ignoring the economic sufficiency and economic independence. If it is the case of some of the people who are not having any land holdings and who are not having any inheritance of more wealth, it is well and good. But even such people who are wealthy, who have inherited very much from their parents, they are also opting only that way of life wherein they are trying to pawn their lives. This is very much deplorable. The educated people and even the policy makers are totally failing in distinguishing and defining the self-sufficiency in economy. It has resulted in total misunderstanding of the concepts of economic sufficiency and economic independence. This is not a small danger. It is a very great danger to the very personality of the individuals in the state. The citizens who are politically identified to be the citizens of a particular nation, they have lost their independence in terms of religion, in terms of culture, in terms of society, and in terms of the economy also. As a result, they have become simply puppets in the hands of the corporate sectors, and it has resulted in the loss of their economic personality. It gradually results in the rate of reduction of the self-confidence which motivates the economic pursuits of the youth. It is very important because the concept of economic sufficiency and economic dependence are like the spinal cord for the political economic system. With the outbreak of the corporate living in the post-Second World War period, there is much distinction between the political system, the administrative system, and the economic system. Virtually, the political system and the economic system are totally interwoven. They are interdependent and intradependent. But the growing imperialism, the growing mercantilism, the growing international standards of international trade and commerce, it had led for more grave effects, which had totally forgotten the concept of economic sufficiency and economic independence. Problem which is found in the world or India, because most of the youth had only volatile tendencies, and as a result, it is resulting in the loss of the economic sufficiency and economic independence. From 1970 onwards, the rate of migration of the educated elite has been very much considerable. In the same way, there is another dimension which cannot be forgotten internally in the Indian economy, particularly. Both the state governments and the central governments are totally becoming bankrupt. They wanted to promote the concept of employment and also the concept of self-employment through certain schemes, and they are totally supported by the industrialists and the corporate bodies. Irrespective of so many changes in the Companies Acts and also so many changes in the legalities and so many declarations regarding the social responsibility of the corporate bodies, there is no change in the ratio of representation for the development of the economic sufficiency and economic independence. And with the outbreak of the so-called information revolution and also the social revolution, most of the people are thinking of the standard of living, the lifestyle than a mere understanding of the economic values. The people want to have a show of their existence, having a villa, having a car, having a bank account, and it's all totally a mirage. It's not basically an economic development. It's not basically an economic sufficiency. It's not basically an economic independence. This is a concept which must be borne in mind by every student who is getting himself post-graduated or graduated either in engineering or medicine or any other types of professional sector. They have totally forgotten the importance of land, the importance of agriculture, and they have accepted outrightly, without any hesitation, to get something from the world market. And they wanted to purchase everything, the pulses, the grains, the oils, the sugars, the medicines, which can be prepared and manufactured in our own country. As a result, this concept of interdependence has considered to be a pseudo idea of economic security, But including the UNO, they are giving significance to this particular pseudo security only. If we understand the sociological concept of the economic sufficiency and also economic independence, practically most of the youth are on the verge of a bankruptcy. It is to be understood that the people must have a strong will to face the challenge. It must be properly backed up by a moral support from the society and a divine support from the nature. And also it must be finding out a policy support from the nation. If the society, the nation and the nature are not in a position to support the youth have to be downtrodden. It's a question of the loss of economic sufficiency and also the economic independence. It should be properly understood. The communication has become very fast. The information has become very cheap. The intellect has become very much commercial. As a result, the technological world has totally robbed the ethical personality and the moral values of the individuals, particularly in the so-called developing countries, by challenging the very existence of economic sufficiency and economic independence. Simply the political independence, the so-called social symbolism, and the so-called cultural heritage, and certain affiliations to the religious attributes, they cannot contribute for economic sufficiency and economic independence. It is the need of the hour for the youth in order to go for economic sufficiency and economic independence. Economic sufficiency and economic independence do not mean simply a self-employment system. It is an autocratic economy wherein the land, society and the state must work together. The environment, the nature, the society and policy must coincide together. Then only it will be possible. If it is not achieved, the economic sufficiency and the economic independence are totally forgotten. Then the life of the individuals, the youth at present, in the oncoming 2 decades, it will be more dangerous, irksome, and very much ugly. I wish the success for the youth. The youth must cultivate the so-called economic imperialism.